Hello fellow leggers, thank you for joining us for another Anybody Have a Map, where we talk about stagey deepness. It's deep meaning.
Stagey deepness.
It's deep, meaningful discussions.
Well, as much as you can have with us, like, you know, I think I wouldn't go
As
so
much
far as
as
to say
obvious.
it was intellectual, but it's gossipy, it's stagey news, it's what's going on in the world of theatre right now.
But what is intellectual, fellow leggers, is some of your comments.
Yes.
A lot of your comments. Boy, do they keep us going, because
They do.
this discussion goes beyond just the two of us. And boy, do you come up with some really good stuff.
Absolutely, so thank you so much for that. We seriously could not do this without you. We love getting your comments, and as I've said before, even if we don't personally reply to all of them, I promise you we read every single one. So thank you.
Yes, can I just signpost before we talk about some of the comments that we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be talking about today?
Yes.
So what you need to be hanging around for?
So stick around today for stagey moral dilemmas, ladies and
Stagey
gents.
moral dilemmas, what could this
it
mean?
Well, there's been a lot of sort of news recently. Sort of, what do you put, you know, in your life you have to make sacrifices. What do you put before other parts of your life?
You're being ever so diplomatic
I am
in
being
explaining this.
diplomatic, but
It's
we're-
the moral dilemmas theatres have been confronted with recently,
Yes.
and that are ongoing.
We're going to be talking about Say Muba and the colour purple dilemma, which continues to go on, and
Yeah.
also the fossil fuel debate, which on the back of Extinction Rebellion has now seeped into the world of theatre, with major sponsors actually being asked to leave theatre
Such as the
organisations.
RSC.
Such as the RSC and the National.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll be talking a bit about that later on.
Deep.
But last time we had a chat about our audience is being robbed by the lack of quality on UK tours, basically.
Oh yes,
compared
should there be a
to-
difference?
Yeah, compared to either the West End, and then a West End audience is being robbed compared to the quality of productions over on Broadway. And we have had a lot of fantastic comments and super opinions on this one. We may have last time teased the idea that somebody, a personality within the industry, had made some comments which had really got us
Got our backs up.
got our backs,
Got us
yeah.
annoyed, got us angry. We didn't agree with them. Their views on the hierarchy of theatre, the fact that you should give concessions to productions based on where they are at, and also the idea that I guess vloggers and bloggers only give good reviews,
Yeah,
so that
because
they
they're
can get
only
free
in it
tickets.
for themselves. A lot of those things we had real issue with, but we made a point of not mentioning who that person was specifically. We don't want to cause a war, like we don't want to cause a fight.
Although
so
wars would be good
Yeah.
for ratings. Everybody loves a bit of a war.
everyone
People would tune in
loves
for
a
that.
Twitter battle, but I
Yes.
don't think that's our style.
Well, not yet.
I haven't got the energy, to be frank.
Sometimes you don't
I
want to
just-
go into battle, but you get dragged in.
I don't
just like
have,
Don Corleone.
I really don't have the energy. We're too busy, guys.
Anyway, some of you figured it out.
Yeah, some of you did figure it out. Some
Who
of
it
you,
was.
Some of you have since have realised who it was. So well done. And some of you, some people, not even fellow leggers, we've seen other people within the industry catching wise to this personality now and actually calling them out on Twitter for a variety
yeah.
of things. So it's not just us that have problems.
Yeah, not just people in the industry, just general people listening to what this person has to say are like, what are you on about?
Yeah. What are you mad?
What's your issue, man?
Yeah.
But
Chill
hey.
out. So yeah, that's happening and that's still going on.
That happened,
Yeah.
and that's still going on. So what's some of the comments?
So some of the comments we've got a great comment from My Super Kate. Thanks, Kate.
Yo.
Saying, when I've seen a show in a solid home, like a permanent theatre in the West End, and then have seen the same show on tour, I have always experienced a lack of quality.
Oh.
Not in the performances or the acting, but with sets, costume, wigs, etc., which always look cheap and tacky.
Oh.
I can understand why they need to change the set every week and then put it up again. The durability of the set is different, and I understand, but personally I think the acting and performances are good. The set and costumes shouldn't matter. Interesting. So you
That
acknowledge
does-
there is a lack of quality.
Well, do you know what? I guess when something's going into a permanent home, and if it's going to be there for years and years and years, there's going to be a different degree of infrastructure for that show. Whereas if you are touring, she does make a good point. It does need to be pull in and taken out in a day.
But
pretty
different
much
doesn't need to mean worse, is what I think the point I would make.
But also that depends on the show and the size of the show, because big tours like Les Mis will be housed in a bigger regional theatre for a longer period of time, and they will have a longer get-in, so I imagine they'll have more in terms of set. So I guess it's more of the smaller tours that are literally going from venue to venue, week per week per week. But then it's not all across the board, because even like I keep saying, Cabaret was fantastic.
Yeah, I would have been very. If I'd have seen Cabaret in the West End in exactly that production, I would have felt complete value for money. I would have felt complete awe at what they achieved on that stage, and that moves from venue to venue, week to week to week. You know.
And you do have. There's been quite a few shows lately that have been out on tour, and then have had a bit of a home in London. Evita, Worst Witch,
Girl on the Train
have done seasons.
Also,
and that would have been the touring sets.
Jodie Prenger in A Taste of Honey is going into the West End following a tour. I mean, it started off at the National, that production. Mm-hmm. Then it took years out, went on tour, and then it's coming back. It's on the road now, and it's going back. It's going into London for the first time in proper West End venue. Check out our interview with Jodie, just up there, with the Stagey Mr. B taking over from you, filling in. But she's great fun, and I cannot wait for that show. And I know we have conversations all the time about the danger of getting excited about something.
Got to be careful of expectations.
Hype, but I think she's a fantastic actress, and I just think her performances are a delight. I can't imagine she's going to be anything less than beautiful in her performance.
Okay,
she is great. I think too, on the back of Kate's comment, we also had a comment from Andrew Hickling.
Hey Legger Andrew.
Hey, who said, with most tours, they have to adapt to fit different houses, and the set needs to be easy to get in, so it's time that the productions have to be a bit different to their West End counterparts. But if you are focusing on that and the lack of a certain set piece, you are focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah, now that's a good point. If you're automatically looking to compare, well, they did this, that doesn't happen, well, normally this happens, like, no. Get over yourselves. You need to just be enjoying that performance. How do you feel at that moment? How does it make you feel? How are those performers in this space, in this experience? It's a tough thing, but I do try each time I see something to look at it
by its own merits,
as if I've never seen it before. If this is the first time I've ever heard this story or seen these people, what am I feeling? What would I think? What is?
And I think as people that we critique shows. I mean, we don't consider ourselves critics, but we do critique.
Share our honest
opinions. And I think we have to come at it as an angle of each production and each performance is a completely independent entity. Should be in our minds the first time we've ever seen it, because we're representing our own views, but we're putting them out to you who may never have seen it before. So I think we have to do that, and I think more audience members that get hung up on the detail maybe should do that more. I'm not telling you what to do.
Don't get hung up on the detail.
He also
Easier said than done, though, right?
He also went on to say, regional theatre for my money is often not only on par with what's in the West End, but surpasses it.
We've seen some great stuff in region. There is this big stigma that it's all about London.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we went to see Ian McKellen last night, and he talked about how back in the day repertory theatre was huge, and he started out at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry doing repertory theatre for a year.
Heather and the team.
Absolutely. Then he went on to the Nottingham Playhouse again for a year, so shout out to those peeps in Nottingham Playhouse.
Yes.
And about
Richard, Steph and a lot of you.
And the amount of people who then went on to greatness, but that's where their roots were, out in the regional theatres. And they didn't get better once they then were in London. they were always good. So regional theatre is as much where it is at. You can't fit the whole lot of the brilliant acting company of the UK in London.
Andrew goes on to make a couple of great examples. Said regional theatre often surpasses it. If you look at the Addams Family tour that went out a few years ago, that production could have easily been plonked onto a West End or Broadway stage and been more than worthy.
Okay.
And I've got to say, production standards were phenomenal. It will never be my favourite musical, guys. I like a couple of the numbers, but it's Lacage, but hetero. The story is, there's no originality there for me. So it'll never be my favourite, but you're absolutely right, Andrew. In terms of production, in terms of set design, lighting, costumes, the quality of the cast they had, the fantastic Carrie Hope Fletcher and Oliver Ormsted, Les Dennis, who's proven himself time and time again now to be a great comic stage actor, Sam Womack, who we saw in Girl on the Train. That cast, all of them West End experience, all of them fantastically talented. And just because they were on the road, it doesn't diminish that. It can't.
Good point, Andrew.
It absolutely can't. He also said last year's Curve production of White Christmas has now had a deserved transfer because it's a top quality production that looks and sounds better. And he's gone on to say the most things in London right now.
Yes, see our review for that just up there. We said it was great at the time. Absolutely.
Yeah, we did. Over the last 2 years, Andrew says, the West End has relied on regional and touring theatres to fill their own theatres, so to come into town.
Interesting.
Okay. So some great comments there. It's just lovely to read them. There are so many of them, guys, but they are a couple of real doozies. So thank you so much for that. We also mentioned, and I'll just read out one from what would I say, Loyal Legger David
well,
Constable.
we've got a hierarchy. We've got leggers and we've got fellow leggers,
loyal
leggers, and Dave Constable comments every time in detail.
What are the
legger, loyal legger,
wooden leggers?
Wooden legger.
Don't be a wooden legger. To be something, don't be nothing.
So what should the hierarchies of leggers be? Any ideas? Comment below.
There's some fun to be had, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Now, David, we also mentioned about bags for phones and Madonna doing it on her tour. Should that extend to theatres? Because, do you know what? Again, I'm being proved time and time again, audiences can't be trusted by and large. If your phone is there, it's an addiction, guys. People have got to check it. They've got to see what it is.
Fear of missing out.
At Ian McKellen last night, I've got to say the audience were by and large really well behaved, but one person did keep checking their phone and checking the time, and I was thinking, have you got somewhere you need to be? Like, the run times for shows are published, they're out there. You do a bit of research, you're going to know roughly what time the show's going to come down. But to be constantly checking the time and checking your phone for the time, I was thinking, if you've got somewhere better to be, go.
Well, it is a long one, and I think there was a number of people that did dart out as well.
But you should know that. I'm sorry, you've got to take some responsibility when you
I don't think I've ever checked the time of a show.
Well, we do for this.
Never.
Well, I
do. Yeah, it's something that you care about.
Yeah.
In my life, I've never checked the time.
If you had a train to catch or somewhere to be at a certain time,
Yeah.
do your research before, right? Don't just get up midway and go.
You'd want to know.
Yeah, you'd want to know.
You'd want to know.
Take some responsibility, please. So that sort of peeved me a little bit, but by and large they were good. But there is still a scourge of mobile phone usage. It's a pandemic. It's a phone-demic.
Let's move on to Loyal Legger Dave.
So David said, not sure about bags for phones, but some theatres could do a lot more to advise audience members to switch them off before the show.
They don't do that anymore. Do that? Many shows
no
don't.
Vocal cue.
No, some do, some don't. Sometimes you'll have a little usher.
That's what he goes on to say. Let him talk. I'm reading out David's comment, but whatever. He says he feels sorry for the poor ushers that are just made to parade around with pathetically small laminated signs. In a couple of venues, I've seen them use glorified table tennis bats, which contain small, illegible symbols that can't be seen anywhere from more a couple of metres away. And, of course, who sees these signs? Because those mobile phone addicts have their face in the phone right until curtain up anyway. So they're not looking around for them.
So they're kind of preaching to the converted already.
But I mean, is it not just a given? Is it not one of those things that we're just instinctually born with? You know how we're sort
Respect.
of... You know, yeah.
Care for
That's
others.
It. I mean, I would like to think that it's sort of inherent, right? You know, like babies are scared of... They'll do two things. They're scared of being dropped. They don't like loud noises. And if you put something in their hand, they'll instinctively clamp on. I would like to think if you put a phone in their hand, they'd know not to use it in a damn theatre.
I don't think it is, Legus Simon.
It's like I have faith.
I don't think it is, which is why and I've said this many times, Legus, don't just tell people to turn off their phone or put it away.
Advise them.
Let them know why. I always say, you know, it's really distracting. Or whenever you talk, I can't, like, your heads move together and then I can't see the stage because you are blocking my view.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let people know the impact on you. Educate people.
I mean, because
people don't know in life really unless you educate them.
That's true.
Now, if you educate them and then they choose to do it, then you can get really freaking angry because now they're taking the piss.
Yeah.
And that's something different. That's a lack of respect. But in the first case, don't just expect people are taking the piss out of you.
Just
they may
explain.
not know
aware.
the impact.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
As for people leaning over and talking to one another mid-show, I mean, you've got your life to talk about production afterwards, so you don't need to talk about during the show unless there's an emergency and you've said, oh my god, something's happening and I've got to go or whatever. You know, if you're having an anxiety attack, it's a bit different to let the person know next to you need to leave.
But if you're just discussing,
if you're just chatting, no. You say
trying to
lean
work
over,
out who's who.
You say lean over and address it. I'm the king of passive aggression, you see.
Oh, you've never mentioned this before, Legus Simon.
If you were talking to me, now without crashing, can you just look at me a second? If you started like putting your heads towards me and talking to me, I would just do this with my programme. In between the two of them in front of me. Just like that. I'd go like that.
But then you're being rude.
I know, right?
You see? And now you're feeding into the whole
I don't,
idea of being
I'm not
rude,
suggesting it, and to be honest with you, I want to do it, but I don't do it. But I do want to just go.
Best passive-aggressive ways of dealing with poor theatre etiquette.
Do you really want them to give me some tips?
No, I want to know
that what you want?
either fellow Leggers, what you've actually done when you've channeled your inner Legger Simon, or things you could do or thought about doing. There you go. Comment below.
Interesting.
Best passive-aggressive. The best thing. Would it be good to do a dumb jolly if someone's like checking their phone just to be like, hello, yeah, I'm at theatre.
Well, I've R.I.P. headphone users.
Sorry.
But
probably peaked a deal there.
A little bit. But I would say, because I've done it before when there's been really rustly sweet packets for extended amounts of time, and I've just gone, did anybody want a sweet? Like, I've done it. So, any of us.
Does anybody? Can I have one of those sweets?
Yeah, can I have? Are you passing
Presume
them
you're
around?
offering around as we can all hear them.
Yeah. So it also goes to say, time for some more imaginative phone-off displays and announcements. There are some really witty ones. Do you know, like when a character from the show does the phone announcement? And I think at the moment the Les Mis concert sing it as like a changed lyric Les Mis style. They sing the phone and camera announcement.
I didn't know this. Can someone comment below what lyrics they use?
Yeah, we've not
seen it,
but I've just got a feeling I've seen that. I might have made it up.
Good.
And if they don't do it, they should.
Suggestions down below.
But I've
change
got a feeling that's the show where they sing the...
Can we do that for all shows? Leggers, think of your favourite show and think of your favourite song from that show. If you could then input there, theatre etiquette,
who would give the announcement and how?
Who and how.
Yeah.
Now that's a good one. We're going to have to come up with a couple for the next video.
So by we you mean me?
Yes, you're good at that, Legger Simon.
Also says, perhaps simple audible signal in the auditorium at the interval is now ending. Have a reminder that it's time to put your mobiles away again. So you know with the bell.
Oh, right.
So not only is the bell a time to go back in, it's time to turn your phones back off.
Yes.
Because you do need a reminder. Well, some people clearly need a reminder. Clearly.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking again of Ian McKellen just because we saw it recently.
No passive aggressive.
It dropped to a blackout like that, and so the amount of phones that were on, and I don't think they started again until there was blackout.
Yeah.
Until all the screens were gone, and then the show started. Maybe that's just what it should be.
Yeah.
we're not starting, guys.
But then we
Blackout,
might never
we're not
start
starting
if there's some
again.
really ignorant people out there.
And I remember that happened for a long time when we went to see, what was the horror show, The Exorcist?
The Exorcist,
Yeah, we seemed to have a huge blackout until, like, masses of just nothing until everybody turned phones off. Sorry, you were about to say something.
I was about to say, talking about passive aggression, I do make a little bit of a point now when I'm sat in my seat and as soon as I'm sat down and I go, okay, phone's going off now to Nathan.
We have adopted. We've both adopted this. Yeah, we sit down. We
Turning phone off.
We do our seat plan photos, whatever. So check out seat plan.
Yeah, they'll give
recommend
you
that.
views from each seat.
And then we're like, right, I'm turning my phone off now. I'm putting it in my bag. Kind of looking at the person. I guess it is slightly passive aggressive.
Slightly.
It's informative.
Oh, is that
it's
what
also
it is?
caring, so in case the people beside us are thinking, oh God, are they going to be taking photos for the whole show?
Yeah.
At least they know that we're aware and we are
Yes.
putting it away now.
So
Relax,
that's how we're
people.
justifying it. It's as much for them as it
It's
is
as much
for
for
us.
them as it is for us.
Right. Anyway, so that's some great comments on some of the topics we covered in the last map. Thank you so much for that. So let's move on because we're already 20 minutes into this.
Oh, she's better
Time
move.
flies. So
Everybody's going to have an opinion on this first one.
yeah, I think they really will. So, as you may have seen, a few months ago now, when The Curve were having a co-production of The Colour Purple with the Birmingham Hippodrome, the actor cast as Seeley in the piece, Sei Amuba, had some historical tweets revealed,
Sharing their religious views.
sharing her religious views.
Quoting text from religion, I think, don't quote me on this, but along the lines of, it's about time we stood up, and it's not right, it's not a choice. As Christians...
what's not a right or a choice? You've not explained what those comments were about.
sexuality. So
It's
there were
about
comments on sexuality,
Yeah.
and sexuality being a choice, which someone then fished out. I think they were 4 years old.
Yes.
Saying, how can you be playing this part of Seeley when it's technically I don't know if it's an LGBT character. It's not quite defined, but she had same-sex attraction.
She's in the LGBT
and
community, you know.
she had love for a woman.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
So then they asked if you hold such vehement views against people in the LGBT community, surely you're not the right person to interpret that character.
Anyway, you probably know this lady.
Yeah, you'll already
It's out
know
there.
this.
And she had the option to. I think the theatre gave her the option to
Apologise?
apologise. She was like, "No, man, I've got
I'm
religion
entitled
is
to
part
my
of the protected
views."
characteristics. I've got my views. I'm sharing my views. So I stand by them."
It's gone on, Leggers. It's developed further still. So
Yeah.
the contract was withdrawn. She was no longer entitled or to play that part, and the part was given to another actress. And since then, she has decided, along with Christian Action, to sue the producers, to sue the show, and presumably the venues that co-produced that. And because she feels religious discrimination, and discrimination is a protected characteristic.
I think she's suing the. Is she suing the Curve? Clarify that for us, Leggers. But I think it's just the Curve she's suing for ending her contract.
It's a co-pro between the Curve and the Hippodrome,
So I guess they're all in
presumably
it.
it would be
Okay,
both.
one company.
But the
Moral
problem
dilemma.
here is, guys, Stagey Moral Dilemmas, is protected characteristics being all bunched up together, and when you put one protected characteristic over the rights of another protected characteristics, where do you stand?
Well, I guess this is a real moral dilemma for the theatre company, which is why I guess it ties into theatre, in that those two characteristics seem to be at odds with each other,
Yes.
don't they? In terms of sexual orientation, even within transgender and gender identification, that is at odds with religion.
Mm-hmm.
And we were having this conversation, and for me, correct me if I'm wrong, and we're almost getting a bit political
Oh
here.
God, please! I can't be dealing with them. I don't want to go viral for our politics. Jeez, go on.
And this is only my opinion, so I'm only sharing my view or my
Which is not
understanding.
representative of the Breaker Leggers as a brand,
Or theatre, or the
or
Curve,
theatre,
or anything else.
or
in
anyone
general.
else associated.
But I guess I've got to understand why religion is part of the protected characteristics, and I think it's really important that everyone is treated equally, everyone is given respect in life for who they are, their diversity, and we need to include everybody. done and dusted. However, out of the 9 protected characteristics, is religion one of the only ones we can kind of change?
Yeah.
The others aren't. They're kind of fixed and fluid.
I think it's becoming increasingly more accepted that being gay is not a choice.
Your identity, a sense of your identity, isn't a choice.
The sex you are born at is not a choice. Your age is not a choice. Your ethnic
pregnancy. If you're pregnant and you're not, it's not a choice. No. You can choose to get pregnant, but then
once
you're
pregnant,
you're pregnant.
Your race, your creed, your ethnicity is not a choice.
That is set.
Yeah, that is set. But
people change
religions. People lose religion. I mean, I'm not a religious person. Never have been brought up a religious person. You were brought up in a religion. And then you no longer follow that religion.
So some people have religion, they choose, then they're quite strict with that, or they choose to become more moderate.
Liberal.
May choose to drop it, agnostic, maybe an atheist, may even choose to adopt a different religion. Some people have no religion and take on religions, and then go on to their own religion and then choose a different form of religion because I feel it's more conservative. So there's a real fluidity there, and that seems to be very much a choice.
And
whereas the others don't.
Yes, there is
that's
no choice.
a real conflict.
I'm passionate
in the law.
I am completely passionate about someone fighting. I would fight for someone else's right to hold a personal belief, irrespective of how it sits with my own, because that's their personal belief. It's when it starts infringing on the happiness of others and their lives and who they are, then it becomes an issue. This is a quandary, guys, and it's only been deepened by Alice Walker, the author of A Colour Purple, now wading into the argument to express an opinion on this particular subject. So Alice, I will read Alice's statement in full. So Alice Walker, author of The Colour Purple, has said, I feel the most heartfelt compassion for actress Oluwaseyi Amuba Seeley. Oh, sorry. Shall I start again? I feel the most heartfelt compassion for the actress Oluwaseyi Amuba, or Seyi Amuba as the stage name is. Seeley, the character she would have played, is based on the life of my grandmother Rachel, a kind and loving woman, brutally abused by my grandfather and whoever was in reality the father of her children, offspring none of the family ever saw.
So this is tying into the story, so it sounds as if the actual story is based on her experiences. If you know The Colour Purple, it's one of my favourite stories of all time, just got to say this.
Thankfully, after these births and the disappearance of her children, she was barren. It's safe to say, after a frightful life serving and obeying abusive men who raped in place of making love, my grandmother, like Seeley, was not attracted to men. She was, in fact, very drawn to my grandfather's lover, a beautiful woman who was kind to her, the only grown person who ever seemed to notice how remarkable and creative she was. In giving Seeley the love of this woman, in every way that love can be expressed, I was clear in my intention to demonstrate that she too, like all of us, deserved to be seen, appreciated, and deeply loved by someone who saw her as whole and worthy. Because I believe and know that sexual love can be extraordinarily holy, whoever might be engaging in it, I felt I had been able to return a blessing of love to a grandmother who had always offered only blessings and love when I was a child to me. In much of my work, I encourage the reader to question everything. I have been urging a questioning and reconsideration of all the so-called holy books for over 40 years. The Bible, like the Quran and the Talmud and others that claim to teach the best way for people to live, must be interrogated, questioned, and respectfully deconstructed. Love, however it may be expressed, is to be honoured and welcomed into the light of our common survival as a consciously human race. Playing the role of Seeley, while not believing in her right to be loved or to express her love in any way she chooses, would be a betrayal of a woman's right to be free. As an elder, I urge all of us to think carefully about what I'm saying, even as you, Oluwaseyi Amuba, sue the theatre company for voiding your contract. This is just an episode in your life, your work and your growth will continue in the real world. A world we must make safe for women and children, female and male. And the greatest freedom of all is the freedom to be your authentic self. And with love to all of us. So that is Alice's
That's a really
statement.
nice, there's real compassion in there. And I should probably say, because we didn't say this earlier, that, there are many decent religious people out there.
Absolutely. So,
Decent, I guess what
we
is
know
decent.
many
Like, I
of
don't want to
them.
say, because there's many people of faith who are part of the LGBT community, who are transgender, so I guess that's not the issue here. That's kind of being really clear.
The issue is making public statement about the right of those people and how they should or should not feel, and then go on to portray one of them
And then the hypocrisy
for money.
of the I guess the
Ultimately.
hypocrisy of
Right.
and then the moral dilemma that the theatre was put into.
Yeah.
So you now, fellow leggers, are the theatre company. Would you have made the same decision,
Are
and
we
why?
asking them to be judge, jury and executioner on
Hell
this
yeah,
one?
that's what a discussion is about,
It is
right?
a discussion. What's your opinion? Two protected characteristics, this whole thing seeping into the world of theatre, which has always been such a place of openness and diversity. Ian McKellen said only last night, when looking for his people, when he realised he was gay, going into the theatre world, he knew he would be accepted. He knew he would be supported.
'Cause there's a lot of them.
He knew he would find other people like him. Should that be protected? Should that bubble be protected?
Now, are we like the BBC?
What
Are
do
we
you
not
mean?
allowed to share our own opinions?
I don't
or
think
can
we
I give
should.
our
I
opinion?
don't think it's our point to
Well,
say.
I want to share my opinion.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous, but go for it.
Well, what's the point, right,
Go
of us
on,
having
then.
this discussion?
Hurry up, though. It's 30 minutes in.
I think it's complicated, and
Oh,
I think
it
it's
is.
legal. I think there's a personal angle and there's a legal angle. As someone who identifies as part of LGBT, I think absolutely the Curve made the right decision personally, and I would have been I don't think I would have gone to see the piece. I think I would have felt as if I would have had to have made a stand. The piece would have gone on, audiences would have gone to see it.
Some, not all. There would have been
Absolutely
boycotting.
right. Audiences would have gone to see it. Well, I already said that I wouldn't go and see it, and I'm sure many people who have similar views to myself or don't agree with her views would have took the same action. But the show would have gone on, I guess. So then, I think they made the right decision, because I do think it's hypocritical and you've got to make a stand. And in the eyes of the law, I do think you've got to be careful, because, as we said, religion is a protected characteristic, and she's only sharing that. And that's really well worded in the statement she said. She's almost saying Alice's statement, do you know what? You do what you got to do, say Amuba, but don't be surprised if you don't work again in this industry, say, because you know who are in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And do what you got to do, abide by the laws of the land, but doesn't mean that we've got to like it, or that you're going to be, I guess, people who hold those views are going to be welcomed. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Was that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't, but like I say,
don't-
I feel I can get quite passionate about this sort of thing, and I don't think my opinion in this is particularly going to be helpful. I think she feels like she's been persecuted, and I would hate.
She is.
I hate anybody to feel that they have been persecuted.
I don't wish that on anyone.
But ultimately, also she has a choice, and what to put before the happiness of others. Your own beliefs before the happiness of others. Is that okay? I don't know, but I don't have opinion further than that. What I do want to do is move on.
Well, no, one last thing.
Okay.
I
Final
do
thought.
think, final thought, if we're looking at changing the world and we're looking at trying to get rid of discrimination, views that can be quite hurtful, very old in tradition, the way to do that isn't with hate, it is with love.
Absolutely.
And I think Alice has got the right angle. I have complete empathy to a degree and sympathy if you say, I know it's not your fault.
Yeah.
You are just doing what you know and what you have been told. And it could be anyone in that situation. So, and to have a talent, my heart goes out to you. I hope that one day you do get to understand and have higher insight. That's all I say.
Wonderful.
Because-
Thank you.
Moving on then.
Moving on. Also, we mentioned at the beginning talking about fossil fuel sponsors of theatre and the damage they do to the environment, weighed up against the enablement of more and more people to see theatre. So case and point here, started with the RSC, who have made the decision to end its many years running sponsorship deal with BP, British Petroleum, And as a result, now we're looking for another sponsor because BP had enabled, through subsidised ticket prices from their sponsorship money, around 10,000 young people a year to see Shakespeare productions at a affordable price, at a highly subsidised price. We're talking around £5 a ticket. So that is then accessible to people that would not necessarily have the funds to go and experience theatre. So then it becomes the question, what's worth more here? Is there the damage they are doing, yet they're offsetting it against the fantastic ability for young people to see?
What is the moral dilemma? Should the RSC have ended the contract, right?
Yeah, the RSC have, and so too, as of next year, the National Theatre will be ending their contract with Shell. So actually, they only receive
a fossil fuel
supplier. Okay. They only receive they're a gold tier sponsor at the National Theatre, Shell are, which means that they pay somewhere in excess of, as a minimum, £15,000 a year. It's not a huge amount. It's not when we're talking about the profits involved in fossil fuel, but the National Theatre have gone so far as to declare their own personal climate emergency, and they know they can be doing more as an organisation, just in their day-to-day practices to support better climate control measures. And that's one of them.
Okay, so I'm thinking here, I love the way that the theatres, I don't think we're leading the way, many companies are thinking about the messages they share, because they've always led the way in looking for equality in terms of male and female directors of recent years, looking for representation on stage. They're leading the way in that. I think it's only fitting that should also be leading the way in terms of then looking at who sponsors them. I think it's absolutely the right decision. It's not going to be. It's going to be no love lost, I don't think, because it's an opportunity for other people to come in and sponsor.
Let me throw a curveball. What happens if nobody else does come in and sponsor the RSC to the tune of 10,000 subsidised tickets a year? What happens if they cannot find a sponsor and then 10,000 young people are robbed of the opportunity to see theatre?
But it's the young people that have said this isn't acceptable. How can you be using this? So you can't have your cake and eat it.
That's true. I think,
and if that's the way of the world, then
to be made.
everyone is going to have to make sacrifices in the coming years, in the coming decades.
So if you've been so lucky enough to reap the benefits of those subsidised tickets from those fossil fuels, I think we've had to know, everything has its season, everything has its time. Show me a reason and I'll sure show you a rhyme. But because things things happen and they're great at the time, and then we educate ourselves and we get more wise, and then we have to let go of those things. And yet maybe, unfortunately, trying to find a different way of approaching this theatre subsidisation, I don't want to call it a crisis, but it is to a lot of people that rely on that, and to a lot of schools, I imagine. It's such an uncertainty that now what is going to happen, because nobody should be robbed of the chance to see theatre. It is inspiring, and in many cases a life-changing experience for a young person. I think of the times my heart swells when I think about the experiences I had as a child seeing theatre, and I'm sure yours do too. And I wouldn't want to rob any one of those memories.
The moral dilemmas, the issues, the discussions.
Moral dilemmas. What do you think? What's the answer, guys? What is it? Who's going to come on board? What if they don't? What happens? What can we do? Do you know what? I'm going to throw in what I'd do.
Oh, go on then.
Put an extra 50.
We're sharing our views, are we now?
Put an extra 50 pence onto my ticket price. Do it and tell me where that money is going. So say your ticket is costing you, not a choice, an extra 50 pence, which will enable younger people to come to the theatre as a gift from you to them.
Because I guess 50p adds up, and 50p.
A 1,200 seater auditorium.
You don't really notice 50p.
You won't notice 50p.
So
if you're lucky enough to be able to afford to go to the theatre, I don't think a 50 pence is going to break the bank. Put it on the tickets and pass it on to young people.
Okay.
That's what I would do. What would you do? Right, we need to wrap it up.
We do. We're nearly our destination.
We are. And can I
Leggers.
just say on the fossil fuel things, we only record
Oh,
these
we're going on again, are we?
unnecessary journeys. So we don't just drive around in circles to film these. We film these in line with another necessary journey, guys.
Oh my
So-
God, we're such hypocrites.
I know, right? I did feel
How
a bit
can we-
hypocritical, but
Oh my
no, if we
goodness.
weren't driving somewhere anyway, we wouldn't film these. We would do them in a different way. So yes, we know we're in a car, but we've got places to be.
But we might not be in a car for much longer.
What do you mean?
Who knows what will happen in the future? We
But in
might have
electric
to
cars.
respond. We could be in electric cars.
Yeah, at the moment
we might
we're
have
not.
to. If we catch a train somewhere at some point, we might have to look at doing one of these on a train.
Oh, can you imagine with the public? Oh, anyway, that's just our thoughts on a few topics there, guys. We love to hear from you. We read every comment.
Yeah.
Please like, subscribe if you want to see more of us on the road. And guys, we're on also other social media, so behind the scenes stuff on our Instagram and also on our Twitter for instant reactions to the theatre we see. We're the Breaker Leggers.
And we'll catch you again soon.
Bye.